In this winning streak, to what extent do you think you've established as a team a strong identity, and how would you describe that identity?
Yeah, I think first of all, we're resilient. I think the best part about us is we've been resilient for all these games. We've played some really great teams, there's some, top echelon teams, obviously in the AFC, Kansas City, obviously, Buffalo on the road, which is a tough environment. And then, obviously Cleveland's been, great all year against a great defense and everything else. I think the best thing about us, though, is it's about us. It's about us being together.
Russell Wilson, let's ride indeed. After giving up 70 points in week 3, being left for dead. I said this yesterday, Charean, even though Sean Payton took a lot of criticism for the things he said to Jarrett Bell back in late July, and for good reason, because he said some things that he probably shouldn't have said, even though I do believe he thought he wasn't on the record, and he was. Everything he said's working out. Everything he said's coming to fruition. Yeah. Tough coaching for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a lot better. Oh, Nathaniel Hackett's not a very good coach. Oh, he was right about that too. I'll be pissed if we don't make it to the playoffs. Well, it looks like they're going to. So it took a while, but the Broncos are really pointed in the right direction.
Well, and they're going to be my first pick because I don't know, how you look at teams going into December, and they're the hottest team to me in football after that 70-20 loss in week whatever it was, 6, that they started 1-5. We were talking about Vance Joseph possibly getting fired at the trade deadline. We're talking about they're going to be sellers. They're going to sell all these players. And now you look, they're 2 games back of the Chiefs. And I think it tells you that coaching does matter. And I think Sean Payton's figured out Russell Wilson and how to use him and how to play on offense. And they're much, much better on offense than they were earlier in the year. And they're certainly better on defense. And kudos to Vance Joseph for turning that thing around the way he has. Quarterbacks have a 71.7 passer rating against the Broncos over the last 5 games. And that includes Mahomes and Allen. So this defense has really, however they did it, and of course missing Justin Simmons was a huge part of that start for them. But getting him back and doing what they're doing now, to me, they're the hottest team in the NFL right now, and I do think they're going to make the postseason.
And the draft is indeed teams riding good vibes into December, and the Broncos absolutely at the top of that list. It was week 3 when they gave up 70, and there was, at some point, I vaguely recall somebody suggesting Vance Joseph was going to get fired, and I don't think it was a reporter. There are plenty of people
they asked
who are
Peyton
on
about
the
it.
air. Yeah, but the point is somebody said, I'm hearing he's going to get fired. And when it's not a reporter, it's one of those safe harbors where you can say, well, I'm not reporting it, I'm just hearing it. But that was out there. It was in play that Joseph was potentially going to be fired. And obviously he was once the head coach of that team. But they've turned it around. Everything's good now for the Denver Broncos. I'm going to go with a team that lost this past weekend, but I still feel very good about where they're going, the Houston Texans, the team that we had all written off before the season even began. They're in position to get a playoff berth in the AFC, and it may be as simple as those contenders at the bottom with the best quarterbacks. The Texans with Stroud, the Broncos with Russell Wilson, and the Bills with Josh Allen. Maybe that's how it all plays out. I don't know, but I'm not picking against the Texans at this point. I think they're going to keep riding the momentum, and they play the Broncos this weekend. Very, very interesting matchup in the AFC playoff chase. Charean may have lost.
I lost you for a minute.
Have Charean?
I did lose you.
Have me. All right. Let's move on to round 2. Charean just thought I had nothing more to say. Charean, you're in round 2. The team giving out great vibes heading into December.
How do you pick against the Eagles? I mean, you got to have the Eagles on this list because they're just finding ways to win despite being down at halftime, as we talk about. Somehow, some way, they find a way to win. And you're right, it's inexplicable and unexplainable how they lost to the Jets 2014 because they could be doing something historic right now with the way they've played. But they did lose that game to the Jets. They got some tough games coming up. But when you look at their overall body of work already, Mike, beat the Cowboys, killed the Dolphins, beat the Chiefs, beat the Bills. They've just gotten it done against the best teams that they've played on their schedule. And now they've got 3 more big games against San Francisco, Dallas, and Seattle, and then they close out with the Giants, Cardinals, and the Giants. So they're going to be able to possibly coast at the end and rest some players in addition to that week off that they could get if they close out these next 3 games. So they've just played remarkably well all season long. We are going to see, as you said, Mike, what they have left in the tank after that Bills game. But, boy, they're playing awfully well right now.
So if I'm going to take the Texans after they lost, I have to take the team that beat the Texans because the Jaguars, look, even though they were completely dismantled by the 49ers a few weeks ago, Sims and I have talked about this, I think they learned something in that loss. They learned what it's going to take to go next level. Last year, it was a loss to the Broncos in London that helped wake up the Jaguars, and specifically Trevor Lawrence. I think this loss to the 49ers woke up the Jaguars. They beat the Titans handily. They go to Houston and get a little revenge against the Texans for the 20-point loss that the Texans handed to them back in Week 3. So the Jaguars still have very real hope of being the number 1 seed. They got a showdown with the Ravens coming up. They still have the Browns on the schedule, but they could end up with that 1 seed in the AFC. And not that it's an overwhelming home field advantage, although I think it would be if they're hosting playoff games, avoiding having to go to Baltimore, Kansas City, Miami. That would be huge for the Jaguars. Let's take a break. We'll do one more round of the draft of the teams giving off the best vibes as we head into December when PFT Live continues right after this. All right, one more round. Teams riding good vibes into the month of December. Charean, who you got?
I'm going to go with the Ravens. Won 6 of their last 7. They killed the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Texans this season. The biggest thing for me with the Ravens, though, Mike, is they have the late bye. They're off this week. I think that's really going to help them down the stretch. Then they come back with the Rams, Jaguars, 49ers, Dolphins, and Steelers. This, to me, is the best chance the Ravens have had in a really long time to contend for a Super Bowl, truly contend. They stay healthy. Again, I think they get that number 1 seed.
I started with the Texans and then went with a team that beat them in the Jaguars. So now I'm going to go with the team that beat the Jaguars a couple of weeks ago in the 49ers. The 49ers, as long as their key players are healthy, are the best team in football and could ride it all the way to their first Super Bowl championship since 1994. That's it for us. See you Wednesday. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.